Rather than pontificating the zeitgeist, I wanted to just make a video that kind of solidifies the model that I've been trying to get at. I know it may look like I've been trying to be illusory to the model, but I really haven't. I know this might look like hocus pocus, so you're just gonna have to bear with me. I alluded to it in my 38-minute video, but that's a long video and I haven't exactly created tags for the person to follow along, so just bear with me. I'm going to start by kind of outlining Freudian psychology and outlining what Freud was trying to do. What Freud was trying to do is essentially what Mr. Chalmers is really asking for, and that was attempt to write us down on a piece of paper. It was I would say it was man's best attempt at the time to do that. Freud defined, as I kind of pointed out in my very first video, three key concepts that are really just foundational to the field of psychoanalysis to this day. I know you can call his beliefs crazy, call them whatever you want, but we still work with his concepts to this day. Those concepts are the id, or the S, as you like to put it. That is your internal primal aggressions. Quickly Google Freudian psychology, please, but I'm going to give some quick examples of what internal primal aggressions are. The feeling of eating, like I need to eat because I'm hungry. Limbic-based responses. Sex is a very powerful desire. Shame, as it leads to survival-based responses, But, please understand that this is internal primal aggression. The other side of the dyad, so to speak, on the y-axis is the Uber-Ich. That is the external forces that are influencing your ego. Ich. I should just say ich. But Uber-Ich is essentially you obeying the external forces that it's behaving with. Obeying is not a good word. You're always you, the observer, witnessing me with your field of perception, such as vision, maybe even a little bit of proprioception, as even the volume enters your eardrums. You know what I'm saying? You are in this model. This is your psychology. I'm just going to keep going because what I've defined to you is essentially an x-axis. Don't know if you took geometry, but we need x inputs to start defining the y-axis at all. That's partially why I spend a lot of time harping on dimensionality. Okay? In order to form the y-axis, we must have x inputs. And as Freud saw it, internal primal aggression, external societal aggression. That's what he saw. Now, if you notice how these influences are actually working, if the ego is performing healthily, the ego is naturally resisting these aggressions. Okay, let's just say the ego is swinging along this dyad. That's all that y-axis is. But right now, what's essentially Freud kind of observed in terms of behavior is that the ego, when met with internal primal aggression, will ultimately be forced to push away. So, for instance, say we become too consumed, for instance, within primal desire. Well, we might have well have lost ourselves to our primal desire. We might as well be those primal desires. And what I am talking about now is literal physical alignment of yourself with those primal desires with respect to space and time. We go back over to the right side of the x-axis, and now we are met with societal desires, such as the need to make money, such as the need to pay taxes. Hopefully you understand what a society means, and all I'm really trying to get at as we play ping pong on this axis, because ultimately, let's just say we become consumed by society. What on earth does that mean? I'm just trying to use English words to describe that your ego is becoming consumed by these aggressions. Literally, it is moving over towards these aggressions. And that's who you might as well be at that point in time. This is what Freud was trying to highlight. He already did it. A lot of people have built around this work. Carl Jung, Melanie Klein, Sam Vaknin. The list goes on. So many other monkeys smarter than me have already done such great work in trying to figure out where we are. We just kind of refuse to accept the facts. So I'm really trying to outline that this isn't hocus pocus. The y-axis is completely contingent on its inputs, which is why I've felt the need to outline Eastern psychology, so to speak, before we even got to Freud. I think Eastern psychology really slam dunked where we are, you, observer, with respect to reality in the form of yin and yang. This really is internal, external aggression. And you know what yin and yang already did as well? It already drew our perspectives in relationship with each other. They already figured out that we were a relationship with the internal and external world. What is stopping us? What is stopping Western science specifically, most of science specifically, from seeing us for what we truly are? Could it be because we stop at such images? Now, remember, since we're talking about the y-axis by definition is an image of the functions and inputs of the x-axis. That's how it works. Could it be that we have been distracted by our own false images of what we perceive to be God, or what we perceive to be the devil? All I have been asking the observer to do from the very beginning is simply understand that who they are in the current moment with respect to time and space is exactly where their attention is. Say we are consumed by limbic-based desires within this false ego we have manifested within ourselves. Christian allegory kind of slam dunked that one and said we might as well be the devil himself. Let's say we're over here in Sodom, doing the devil's work himself, you know? I don't know what other relative words to use. I'm literally not trying to insert God. I'm trying to insert man's image of God. But let's just say you're over here in Sodom, and you're over here on the dark side of the moon. You know, this is the dark side of reality, as Carl Jung once said. And once we're below the equator, there seems to be a bunch of aggression that is attracting us towards what I like to call the singularity. But who knows? Use your own definition. Hell. Doesn't matter. But it seems like once we cross the equator in terms of psychology, in terms of behavior, we are magnetically attracted to this. And it seems like what the ego is inherently trying to do, given this x-axis of inputs, it seems like it wants to go here. But for some reason, when it comes to our attention within the current moment, within respect to time, we can only conceive of possible situations and outcomes that are with respect to this area in time and space. For instance, let's just use a really crude example. Let's just say you are an ant, which I believe is just as conscious as you are. But I've already discussed to you what the range of consciousness is, what is within your perception to be conscious of. This does not mean... I won't diatribe there. But let's just say you're an ant. You cannot be conscious of, say, an eagle swooping in at you at fucking 70 miles an hour, slamming into your anthill because as a snake happened to roll over it. You have a very limited amount of things you can be aware of as an ant in this scenario. You might feel the impact in some kind of weird ant limbic-based system. But for the most part, your consciousness had no ability to perceive the eagle flying in. Just as your consciousness has no ability to perceive the radiation coming in literally right now from the universe. Or just as, say for instance, I'm in a room I don't have the ability to perceive what's going on in a Russian tundra or on the beaches of Japan. Do you get what I'm saying? You can only have an experience relative to what you can have, to where you are in space and time. Stop fooling yourself otherwise.